greatest digital asset ever created. I'm so glad I accumulated before the space got saturated. XRP the greatest digital asset ever created. Make the haters aggravated, get the spaceship activated. XRP the greatest digital asset ever created. I'm so glad I accumulated before the space got saturated.
Alright guys, it's been a lot has been going on this week, last week. I'm only going to talk about, but there's so much news that was covered. I mean, the Canada news, which was crazy. They're freezing crypto accounts, guys. So make sure you take your ledger and store all your coins on your ledger. So this is a recent news here. This is Iran versus Russia. Russia attacks Iran. Look at what's going on here. It's crazy. This is tragedy that happened in Iran, so definitely keep your prayers up. About 40 people died on this incident. This is not anything to joke about or anything like that. This is something very, very serious that's going on in the world, and we need to discuss it because you never know. This could have been us, so we want to make sure we definitely put our prayers out to these families in Ukraine, but this has also been predicted as well and could have been prevented. Let's get into it a little bit more. Let's deep dive into this incident. But Russia just attacked Ukraine, and now they're trying to do sanctions and all that other good stuff. But first, let's figure out what was the reason Russia even even gave an attack on Ukraine. Let's look at this video here. He explains at least about 1 to about 8 different reasons why Ukraine is so important to the
crisis. I've been doing videos all about the energy crisis going throughout Europe, United States, and really the world. Uranium or nuclear is really the only way out of this. France is ahead of the curve. They're petitioning the EU to make it green energy. I think that's going to happen, and uranium is going to be a hot commodity. That's one of the positions you should be looking at in your portfolio. And so they're the first in Europe. We can see they're the second largest in iron ore reserves, pretty big. Third in Europe in shale gas. So energy in Europe is in a crisis. We've seen price of natural gas go up by over 10 times, over 1,000%. They're completely dependent on Russia for natural gas. And here we are, third in all of Europe in natural gas reserves, fourth in the world in total value of natural resources. Of course, that's what every nation needs, natural resources. Seventh place in the world in coal reserves. We're still running on coal for electricity, and so that's important. There's massive shortages of coal in China. It's a hot commodity. We can see down here, this is all agricultural stuff. I'm not going to go through everything, but we can see here Ukraine can meet the food needs of 600 million people.
All right, guys, you go check out more on this video. It's called Warning: War with Russia Leads to the End of the Dollar. So you guys can see here that it's it's like a lot of positive things that Ukraine is able to do within all these other countries. Ukraine can meet the food needs of 600 million people. It's the 4th largest producing potatoes in the world, 5th largest raw producer in the world. So guys, look at this video here. You can take this and watch this like 30 minutes, maybe 20, it's 23 minutes here, and look at the whole thing. They give all the advantages that Ukraine has. So giving this attack on Ukraine is really messing up the country of everybody, so they're trying to set a statement and call out Ukraine, and they hit it, and now they're going to see what we're going to do about it, right? So one of the biggest things that's going on here with Ukraine, let's listen to Joe Biden speech after Russia hit Ukraine. Listen to the sanctions that he's done for Russia, and let's just see if Russia even cares.
Russia's ability to do business in the global economy.
We've now sanctioned Russian banks that together hold around $1 trillion in assets. We've cut off Russia's largest bank, a bank that holds more than 1/3 of Russia's banking assets by itself, cut it off from the U.S. financial system. And today, we're also blocking 4 more major banks. That means every asset they have in America will be frozen.
Biden said the sanctions were designed to have a long-term impact on Russia and to minimize the impact on the United States and its allies. And he said Washington was prepared to do more.
This is going to take time, and we have to show resolve so he knows what's coming. And so the people of Russia know what he's brought on them. That's what this is all about.
His announcement represented the second major tranche of sanctions against Russia, and Biden warned personally sanctioning Russian President Vladimir Putin was still an option.
These powers will... All right, so you guys can see that Joe Biden gave sanctions, again, the second largest sanction to President Putin in Russia, basically cutting him off of the SWIFT system. So that's the biggest thing here that's going on, is the SWIFT system, guys. So I'll speak more about that as we come along in this video. So listen to this here. It says, today's Biden said no one expected sanctions on Russia to prevent anything from happening, but his administration has been saying the exact opposite for weeks. Listen to this 30-second video.
No one expected the sanctions to prevent anything from happening.
The purpose of the sanctions has always been and continues to be deterrence.
The purpose of the sanctions, in the first instance, is to try to deter Russia from going to war.
The president believes that sanctions are intended to deter.
They're meant to prevent and deter a large-scale invasion.
We want them to have a deterrent effect.
The sanctions are designed in the first instance to try to deter Russia from taking further aggression,
as well as our efforts to both try to deter Russia through sanctions.
If you pull the trigger on that deterrent, well, then it doesn't exist anymore as a deterrent.
So the president was saying is no one expected the sanctions on Russia to prevent anything from happening, but everybody else is saying the total opposite. It's crazy. But you guys can do your deep dive research on that, right? So I cannot find the video, but President Putin put out a video of anyone attacks immediately on Russia, he will do tremendous more damage and some things you've never seen in history of the world, which is bringing on another World War III, guys. Just want to make sure you guys are aware of that and we can understand what's going on in the world around us every single day. So listen to this video here about the BRICS system and the US dollar slowly being deterrent from zero.
Step two is what's being discussed now, which is the payment processing system. So really what they're competing with is the SWIFT bank system, right? So right now, if you're sending money overseas from a U.S. bank, you have to use, or any Western country, you use that SWIFT system that is set up in Belgium. And that prevents money laundering in theory and all that kind of thing. But what the BRICS nations are doing is saying, well, we don't need to use the SWIFT system because we don't want to be subjected again to U.S. sanctions, because if the U.S. is sanctioning you, you can't move money using that SWIFT system. So what's really interesting is, number one, they're creating a payment system that would go around SWIFT. But how do you do that when you have 5 major countries that all have their own currencies? And one of the ways they're doing that is by using possibly cryptocurrency to do that. That would translate their currencies into a single cryptocurrency that is then used through the system and then formulated, I guess, when it gets into their country, back into their own personal currency. So essentially you're taking currency from one, sending it through as a cryptocurrency, and then back on the other end into transforming it into another currency. And that allows them, again, to get around this SWIFT system in a way that no one had really thought about in the past, because crypto already has all of those things in place.
Now, Russia in particular, they've been moving away from the U.S. dollar. In fact, in the last 5 years, Russia actually cut out almost half of its trade payments in U.S. currency, from 92% to about 50%. So what does this say about its relationship, if any, with the West?
Well, I think it says that, that Russia specifically really started pushing this after 2014, right? Because in 2014, the U.S. started hitting Moscow with sanctions, and they wanted to punish. And remember how this works. Sanctions are issued against individual countries. They're also issued against leaders in those countries or wealthy people in those countries. And so when leaders in those countries and wealthy people in those countries start getting hit with sanctions, you have a choice. You can either go along with this and comply, or you can say, let's create a system that no longer gives you leverage over us. Well, one thing that the U.S. is doing a very poor job of right now is recognizing that it's not just Russia or just China, but there are 5 major nations and dozens of smaller nations that are very excited about the idea of no longer being under U.S. dominance when it comes to currency. And we're not doing anything about it. At this point, the U.S. is resisting on almost every level any push to change the way the system is currently. Step 2.
All right, guys, you heard it from him first, and it's from other people as well. There are about 5 major nations, which is called the BRICS. The BRICS system, which definitely go check out this video, BRICS and US in the level playing field right here. Guys, this will break down and understand what BRICS is, and you guys can start deep diving and understanding a lot more what is going on. So you guys can see here,
emerging markets.
BRICS is Russia, Brazil, India, China, and I think the S is South Africa.
Demonstrating
if I'm
rapid
not
growth
mistaken.
and
I think it's South Africa that just putting on that's what the S. But look at this. Go check it out. Go check it out. All right, so let me look at this part right here. This is Ripple, right? Ripple is aiming to take over Swift. There's no other blockchain company speaking about taking over the Swift system and on all these news channels, on all these conferences, all these Zoom calls and in meetings. This is Brad Garlinghouse from Ripple, who has the coin XRP. Listen to him as saying he wants to take over. He is going to take over the Swift system. Listen to it.
Well, I think what we're doing and executing on a day-by-day basis is in fact taking over Swift. In that, we've now signed up, well over 100 banks. Some of the largest Swift-enabled banks in the world are now using Ripple's technology. Just last week we saw a remittance company who's using Ripple's technology. They reduced the price per transaction to their consumers from $20 per transaction to $2 per transaction, and they saw an 800% increase in usage overnight. That's the type of dynamic that Swift isn't able to support that we're able to address right now. And that's something we saw just in the last couple of weeks. So we certainly want to see banks succeed in this new world order and take advantage of these technologies. To the extent we can work with Swift to do that, then that's great.
Guys, they were working with a bank who had $20 transaction and now working with XRP on the XRP ledger. Now they have 2% or $2, I believe he said $2 transaction versus $20 transaction. Go back and look at the video yourself, but I'm going to move on. This is a video here with Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple. And then this is also the CEO of Swift. Brad is on the stage with the CEO of Swift, which was in 2019. Now, he's not currently the CEO of Swift anymore, but just listen to this. He knows about Ripple. He knows about XRP, the coin. I gotta keep explaining this? Listen to this.
To the transparency that the platform provides.
Gottfried, why not use Ripple's technology to do that?
Because, well, we'll have to see. I think what we are seeing, we had a long discussion about blockchain versus API. What we could see is the API technology, which is at the heart of what we do with GPI, is here today, and banks are able to integrate it. Blockchain, we think, is further out. We've run a large proof of concept with blockchain to...
let me wind it here. Let me see what Brad Garlinghouse says.
In that one. They have to be ready for that technology.
Brad, do you want to respond as to why that might not be the case?
Well, I think, the Swift model, we can talk about open APIs, we can talk about open networks, but it isn't. Swift is it's a Swift-controlled API, and even, I'm complimentary of what GPI has represented in terms of accelerating what has been, a relatively slow process. GPI, I think, is a big step forward, but it's still there's a central database where you're querying a transaction status, and so that's a central operator.
And I'm not going to get all into that, but I just wanted to show you guys that this man, Brad Garlinghouse, is on the stage with him. So this is not financial advice, but I've been stacking my XRP bags. I've been continually looking up on this XRP versus SEC Ripple case. And also, guys, I'm stacking up on gold as well. So if you guys don't know where to purchase gold, this is some places where this is one website where I know for a fact that has been referred to me, and I've purchased gold on the website as before. You can buy grams, you can buy ounces, you can buy a whole bar, whatever you want, but definitely find more ways to protect your money, guys. Protect your money at all costs with gold, digital assets, real estate, things that are hard, real money. But gold is always going to be God's money. So definitely continue to do so. Peace.